What is up, guys? I'm going to be describing how to properly get the CAN Lambda function working, particularly on the link CAN Lambdas, as they don't have an internal capacitor built in. So one of the required things you'll need is a 22 UF 35 volt or 35V capacitor. So that's our capacitor. And then the way I'm doing this is I'm going to be using two DTM mini 4-pin connectors. So there's two DTM minis over here alongside with the pins and then the wedges that are supported with those. So the reason why this will typically happen, and I'll kind of just write it down, is the way my car works is there is a main relay. So this is our MR, our main relay. And what happens is that main relay gets turned on by our key, our ignition switch. And when it does, it's also grounded and it gets power from what's known as the EGI fuse. So EGI, and that goes to the positive terminal on our battery. So it'll look something like this. And our battery is gonna have a negative terminal, which is then grounded, right? So that's our main relay. And then there's a fourth output, and that fourth output provides power to our chassis harness. So this will look like a plug over here, right? And then there'll be another mating plug. And that mating plug will be our chassis. Or our engine harness. And this engine harness, there's one important wire. This important wire is actually a 12-volt wire. So this 12-volt wire actually gives power to my ECU. I'll just write 12 volts. 12 volts. It gives power to my IAC, or if you're a rotary guy, back valve. And then also it gives power to my CAN Lambda. So it's all shared power source, Lambda. Oops. So as you can see, right, you have this 12 volt, splits up into 3. And in my case also, I know that main relay also gives power to our injectors and even my boost controller. So why is this a problem? Well, what happens is when you have a 12-volt source here and the ECU grounds out those signals, like let's say, especially for my IAC, the moment it grounds out, it gets interfered. The CAN Lambda is very sensitive when it comes to its power source. So when you do that, right, let's say this is our CAN Lambda. So we have our 12 volt, we have our 12 volt source over here. Jesus. That CAN Lambda is also grounded. So what we want to do, right, our CAN Lambda would look something like that. It's also grounded to the engine or whatever, ideally the engine, if you're building an engine harness. So what you want to do is, right, we'll rewire it. So we'll rewire it where this is our CAN unit. And this is gonna be positive and negative, and those two wires, in between those two wires, we are actually going to wire a capacitor in between those two, right? And it'll look something like that, right? So you have your positive, your negative, and the capacitor will be wired in between it. This way, the capacitor will get rid of any interference in between that CAN signal. So this is kind of an explanation of why you might be having issues with your CAN Lambda unit and how to resolve this issue. And I'm gonna be showing you how I'm gonna wire this up and then resolve it and then That way I'll be able to use my CAN Lambda and all these other functions without any issues. Hence the reason why we're wiring a capacitor in here. I've tried actually wiring an independent relay. Unfortunately, that didn't work. This seems to be actually the most ideal option that's available when it comes to properly wiring this. All right, so here's my little sub harness. So if you see, the orange wires are 12 volt, the brown wires are ground, and then the green wires, one of, I believe, CAN high, and then the yellow one is CAN low. So pretty much we're gonna wire the capacitor in between the power and ground. And the long leg will go to, come on macro lens. The long leg will go to the positive, and then the short leg will go to the negative. So I'll do that. All right, so as you can see, the long leg on the orange wire and the short one on the brown. Long leg being power, short leg being ground. Capacitor is wired up, crimped it. Some people might disagree with me, but it works for me. I'm gonna snip it, put heat shrink around it, and bam. And like that, pretty much our adapter is made. I'm just gonna wrap it in Tesa tape, test it, and then bam. That's really it. So, yeah, that's it. All right, and then there's my little adapter, wrapped in Tesa tape over there. Just zip tie it, move it aside, just keep it clean. But that should make our CAN Lambda unit work. And then that allows me, because of this, I actually had to unplug my idle air control valve. Well, actually it's plugged in. I didn't even realize that, but now I can use it again. So, and not have like a bunch of weird hiccups and issues. Because of that caused a lot of different issues too. So, yay. New day, new day, new day, new day, new day, new day, new day. New day. New day. All right. It's been a few days and waiting on parts, and I got my favorite part. I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff. We're gonna put E-fans in the car, we're gonna put the air filter on the car, and we're gonna install a CAN gauge. Just got this in the mail today. The Link CAN gauge. This thing's sick. Shows everything. Now this was like what, 380 bucks? What are you gonna do? Spend 600 bucks on a bunch of shitty gauges when you already have the sensors on the ECU already? I like that. Let's do a little unboxing video. We got the CAN gauge. Sick. We got some connectors. DTM 4-pin connector. This is gonna get terminated. We're gonna have to tap into our wiring harness. And then this side just goes on the back of the thing. There's 2 connectors. Why? Should be pretty easy to install. It's just 4 wires. And we just gotta configure in the ECU, find a place to mount it. We're mint. I'm excited, dude. I finally got this. Before they made this is made by a company called Gauge Art. I always wanted to get this. I just couldn't justify spending the money. Had a few spare bucks to spend. At least I can finally see everything and add a bunch of cool stuff in there. Pretty excited. All right, so we're just gonna put that back in the box like so, whatever. I'm currently finishing up a wiring harness for a Series 4. Shout out to the Dirt Road brothers. Finishing that up. And then we're going over to Declan's house tonight to do his KA harness. So that's pretty rad. Just out here doing harnesses out the wazoo in my goddamn bedroom. Yeah, this is a rough one. This is a rough one. Don't be using heat guns by carpets and stuff like that. But when you're like me and you got the measurements in your head, you just gotta send it. All right, we're outside. So took off the front vent on the dash, figured out where I want to put my CAN Lambda. My homie Brendan's gonna sell me one of the ones that go to the AC vent. Sneak that. Ran the wires all the way around because I don't want to go behind the radio or take off any radio parts. Then let's go around. We got our connector. So we just got to wire these 4 wires, power, ground, can high, can low, into ECU. And we'll do that now. And I'm just gonna put this dash back, this vent back in, this thingy. Hopefully this isn't a pain. All right, cool. So got the ECU unplugged just so I can get some more space to work on this harness. Gonna take off some of this tape. This harness has been doing me well. I'm gonna make a little pigtail so I can tap in between the harness. I'll show you how that's done. So let me make the pigtail first. Alright, let's wire this thing. So tapping in between the ECU power, the ECU ground, can high, can low. I already have a can Lambda, so let me actually show you. Let me show you guys. So I'm pretty much daisy chaining everything between the can signals. And I actually will put a video in the description on how to wire the can Lambda properly. Come on. So that's my link cam Lambda over here. And then I have like a little sub harness in between because I had to wire up a 22 UF resistor in between it. So instead of cutting up the harness, I built this in between it. But there's can signal going on in the bay, and there will be can signal going on in the cabin. So that's what we're gonna do. So we wire it up like so. I'm using these this kit right here. You can get it from Amazon. These open barrels are great. And I'll show you how we'll wire it up. So yeah. Right, wired everything. As you can see, I tapped into can high, can low, and power wire, so that's good. Just gonna run some tape. So let's just do that real quick. Bam, as you can see, now we have a can connector. Perfect. Time to install. Let's see how it works. Let me just plug the ECU back in, and I'll plug this in. And yeah. All right, so as you can see, ECU's plugged in, got the connector. Before I even tie this all up, got to make sure that the car still starts up, because I was messing with ECU power wires, so that's going to be pretty crucial. So step 1, nice. All right, so can gauge is on. I gotta set it up on my phone and configure the ECU, so I'll go do that quickly. And yeah. flashing some firmware. So as you can see, it says gauge art, pretty cool. And then I made like a custom page. So it shows coolant, air, map. Let me get this camera up closer. So that's pretty dope. Now I just gotta get the ECU to send the CAN signals over. So let me just do that real quick. Got the little instruction manual here. We got dome lights. So yeah, one sec. All right, so we got the Link ECU software here. We just go underneath ECU controls here. We go underneath CAN setup. And as you can see, I have a CAN Lambda here, so I just use the second CAN channel. Make sure it's user defined. 1 megabit per second is good. You want the mode set as transmit generic dash and the transmit rate to be at 20 hertz. And the CAN ID is 56, and the format is in its normal mode. And then you just hit apply and then OK. And then, as you can see, it's reading the coolant temp. It's reading manifold pressure. The only thing it's not reading is O2. That's weird. Let's see. Did my CAN Lambda just... Oh, there we go. Yeah, we got AFR reading. It just takes a second to heat up. Nice. All right, it's working. It's working. All right, next up, we gotta put E-fans in this car. I'm so excited. This thing's so sick. I love it. All right, let's get some interior lights on. As you can see, it's been raining a lot. It sucks. I'm not a fan of it. The little toy I wanted to talk about was this. The homie Joshua John actually makes these. Brendan had one of these. He's a local guy. I'm gonna put his Instagram down on the screen if you guys want to buy any of his 3D printed stuff. He makes like cup holders and stuff like that. But shout out to Joshua John. This is where we pretty much had a mounting location for the CAN Lambda. I actually need to reinstall this, so I'll guide you guys through how to actually properly install this and the process you got to go through to put this on. So come along with me and I'll show you how we put this on properly. Most people have broken AC vents anyway, so it should be pretty easy. As you can see, there's just one screw that holds it all together. So yeah. Right. Nice. Looks safe to drive to me. decided to take it for a drive, and definitely was worth it.
Hey, yeah, okay. I live lavish. I live lavish. Okay. I live lavish. I live lavish. Hey, hey. I live lavish. I live lavish. I live lavish. I live lavish. Hey. I live lavish. I live lavish. Caught her lip, finna pull up with a bad bitch. She's so attractive. I don't fuck with ratchets. Smoking dope. Watch me blow away the ashes. Dope. Gotta be careful, can't get nothing on my fabric. Oh, that's your bitch, I can't tell by how she acting. Niggas beefing over pussy, you can have it. Come around here, my cousin Buku, get the clapping. I act bougie to you niggas, I'm too lavish. My bitch bougie, wearing Gucci like an actress. I was out, you was updating your status. You selling tens and you talking about you trapping. I live lavish, Gucci on my waist. My bitch the baddest, got my hands round her waist. Expensive fabric, smoking blunts to the face.